This is a time for connection, human connection, emotion, passion. Like, this is the time for it. Hey, you amazing person, you. Welcome back to another episode of Woman Behind the Lens. I'm so glad you're here. So today we're going to talk about how to share your vision effectively. Do you ever have an amazing idea in your head and you just want to express it to other people and get them involved, but you don't know how? You don't see in their face the excitement that you want them to feel and see, the excitement that's inside of you that you're trying to convey to them, and you don't see it? Well, today I'm going to show you how I get people excited about my ideas. So as a filmmaker, I constantly have to be able to share my ideas with other people and get them involved. And you need to be able to talk about your ideas over and over again until you kind of get this energy going and you start to wrap other people into it. Another entrepreneur mentor that I know kind of shared this idea that you want to keep talking and talking until you have this energy around it and it starts to pull other people in. And he is really a successful entrepreneur, been a mentor for many, many years. And I just really have taken to heart that idea. So it always amazes me how after months of working on an idea that was in my head, that I get to sit down in a theater and I get to see it on the screen. It's just amazing to me. Like, dude, that was an idea in my head and now I'm watching it and other people are watching it too. And people are getting impacted by it. It's just so amazing. So it really burdens me when I see other people, other visionaries with amazing ideas, and they can't seem to share it and get other people involved. I can see that they're struggling to get the idea off the ground or share it with other people. And that's really the key. You have to be able to share your idea with other people so that it can get off the ground, so that you can get resources you need and other people involved. I've just been around some amazing people. And this is really serious, that if you have an idea, a calling, or a message inside of you, that you be able to share it. I know people that have passed away from this earth and haven't seen their ideas come to fruition. So to me, this is serious business. It's serious that you be able to share your idea in a way that communicates well, and you can see people's eyes light up just like you are lit up inside. In order to do that, I'm going to share with you a scripture that has been repeatedly shared, but for good reason, because it's such a good scripture. It's the scriptures in Habakkuk, and if you go to church, you've heard this scripture. And Habakkuk was a prophet, and he lived in a pretty crappy time, where everywhere he looked, he saw injustice, and he saw his people dying, and people who are evil seemed to be winning. And it was a frustrating time for him. And he talks to God and tells him, like, why is this happening? And then God responds to him. And then God answered, write what you see, write it out in big block letters so that it can be read on the run. This vision message is a witness pointing to what's coming. It aches for the coming. It can hardly wait, and it doesn't lie. If it seems slow in coming, wait. It's on its way. It will come right on time. So that's how God responds to Habakkuk. And then after that, then God tells Habakkuk what to write. And it's very interesting that God says, write what you see, and then write it out on big block letters so that it can be a vision message read on the run. Because what's coming is crazy. So people are going to be displaced. It's going to be war. It needs to be big so it can be read while you're doing other things, So the way it's written fits what it's needed for. It fits the requirements and the audience that is going to hear the message. And it's going to come right on time. So let's break that down. The research is conclusive Dr. Gail Matthews, a psychology professor at the Dominican University in California, did a study on goal setting and found out that when you write things down, that you're 42% more likely to achieve your goals just by writing them down. So I wanted to give you that statistic to say it's really important to write stuff down and put that vision out of your head and give people a visual. If you're a filmmaker, you're in the business of visuals and you want to create something you can show people. Or if it's not showing, it's hearing it. Give people something they can get immersed in and they can get the feeling and the tone. Like, these things are important in this type of work. Feelings are important. Feelings are important in storytelling. At first, I just wanted to tell people what I wanted to do. And I knew that my idea was going to be great. And I was like, you can come if you want to. But as I've gotten older, more experienced, and done bigger and bigger projects, I realized that I have to be able to talk to people that don't just know me and know who I am and know what I've done. There's people you need to talk to that don't know you and don't know what you've done. So you need to be able to communicate that. Eventually, you're going to need people on your team that don't know you or have a history with you, but they're an expert in a certain area, or they have resources, or they just want to hear what you have to say. And it's so interesting. Some people are waiting to give money to someone. I've given money to people because I see that they follow through with what they're going to say. They have a clear vision. You know that it's a good investment. And so you want to be a good investment. So in the scripture, it says, write down what you see. So the first step I would say is piece of paper, pen, computer, notes app, whatever. Write down what you see in your mind's eye. What's in your heart? Just write it down. I see thousands of people coming to watch my film. On the screen, I see a Black female superhero. Write down what you see, what that vision is in your mind. Put words to it and put it down. And I would say that's just number one. Open a document and write what you see and tell the truth. I think for me, I've learned that sometimes I'm so used to adapting what I'm saying for other people so soon in the very beginning, it kind of taints it. So I'm trying to tell myself to tell the truth. Like, this is what I see. You don't have to make an excuse and you don't have to tweak it and fix it and all this stuff. Just write it down how you see it. And the next step is trying to put it in such a way that other people can read it. Just like in the scripture, when God said, write it in big block letters so it can be read on the run. So he's saying, you write this vision down in such a way that it can relate and resonate with the right people. The next thing that I do after I've kind of gathered all the pieces, whether it's some pieces of research or just my ideas or quotes and different things that kind of feed into your vision. So for me, I create like a vision packet or something like, people would create a brand packet, with the colors and the fonts and the this and the feel of the brand. Well, I do something like this for my films or my project idea. So if I have a script or an idea, I make sure that I include the synopsis in it, but I'm going to kind of go through what I created for my next project. This is just what I do. It could look different for people. Sometimes if you're having short pitch sessions, you only have one page to write everything down. But this one I created as several pages because I'm not going into pitch for TV shows and things like that yet. But right now I'm pitching to community partners and organizations. So I make my vision packet a little bit, longer than a page just to make sure I explain everything, but I still make it engaging. And just so you know, I use Canva a lot. I love Canva. Not sponsored or anything. I've just been using them for years, like years. So I love Canva. It's very easy to work with. And I don't have to spend so much time trying to figure it out. I could just, be creative. So I got a grant to do a project with second generation immigrants of color that are youth and dealing with mental health. So I created a packet with different things inside of it. It's like when I'm saying, hey, this is the project I'm doing. What is this? Like it's a lot of words, but it doesn't mean anything. So it's around tackling the language of mental health in immigrant communities of color. And so the next page is a project description page. It's kind of like, okay, here's our fiscal agent. We're partnering with them, and this is what we're going to create. And this is what's going to happen after it's done. And we're going to exhibit it such a way. There's their demographic. Just like a project overview. It's just a paragraph or so. The next thing I have is kind of the strategy and how we're going to accomplish it. So for me, I have a web series. I have a podcast. We're going to do screenings that'll be virtual and in person. And I have youth panel discussions. Now, this is the idea. It's not set in stone, but you want to give people a place to start. The next thing I've done is lots of research. So in here, I included research around this community. So, did you know 20 million adults in the US are born of immigrants? Did you know there's 4.2 Black immigrants living in the US? Did you know that 1 in 10 Blacks are foreign born? Like, these are things that I feel like when someone's reading it, they can be like, oh, wow, this is important. This is relevant. This impacts a large population. I should pay attention to this. And then for me, the next page would be a little bit more research. So the next thing I talked about was stressors that deal with the topic I'm talking about. So things that happen in this community, like therapy didn't exist for the parents, most likely in their home countries. There's a lot of stigma around mental health, a lot. I think if you're in this country, if parents in this country, you've seen a change in the talk. But I think when immigrants come, like maybe the kids might be more comfortable talking about it than the parents. I think it's even worse in American communities of color, the stigma sometimes around mental health, because a lot of times in other countries of color, mental health is associated with spiritual things because the spiritual and faith are like really integrated in the everyday life and society more than here. So it gets really complicated. So anyways, these are things you want to really share with people, talking about racism, acculturation, comparing trauma. Like, if your parent is a refugee or immigrant, there's a lot of trauma. But for you to have these like first world problems, like you may not want to bring it up. So that causes stress for the child. And the next thing I talk about is the web series, Coffee, Beans, and Love, that I'll be producing. And then I have a synopsis of the series with photos. I put some photos with it, a little bit about myself, who I am. And the next thing we're going to do is a video podcast of interviews with different kids of immigrants and their parents. And the next thing I talked about is the budget. So this is really great. You just make an estimate of what you think the budget would be and how you would spend it. Again, this is not set in stone, but you want to show, like, I've done the work. I've been thinking about this, and this is kind of the budget I need and why. The next thing that you want to talk about is your timeline. So I created a high level timeline. Now it's changed dramatically because of the pandemic, but I let people know, like, this is the timeline. This is how long this project would take. After that, I have a quote that's from me, because guess what? I'm in that population. I'm not a youth, but I'm a child of immigrants from 2 different cultures of color in America. And mental health is a huge theme. It's a huge thing for everybody, but for this population, it's just not talked about very much, the challenges. And I know firsthand. So that's really important too. If you have firsthand experience with something and it's really personal to you, put that in there too. Like, this is the time to be personal and have feelings. Like, this is not corporate. This is not the bottom line. Like sometimes, keep in mind the bottom line with budgets and things, but like this is the time for connection, human connection, emotion, passion. Like, this is the time for it. So I wanted to show you guys that, and I hope that it gave you an idea, like, one, of what this could look like, two, of what I'm working on. You know, if I showed this to you and you had a way of helping me and you wanted to be a part of it, now you know what I'm working on. And now you can even see, where do I fit in this vision? That's another thing. When you can let people know where they fit in your vision, to me, it's kind of like, I think of it like a hook. Like, I'm hooked into your vision because I can see where I fit into it. Then I can start thinking, oh, I fit here. Oh, I have this resources. Oh, I have these skills. Oh, you know, so this is why this is so important. So if you want to find a producer for your project, funding for your project, having something shows you're serious about your vision. And even if you don't have a script written yet, but you have a book or a story or a short story or a graphic novel or some kind of base piece of content, put that in there. Put a link to it. You know, put those things in there. It's all about helping people kind of peek into your mind and see the vision that you see. I just want to end with saying thank you for listening. I hope this helped you. And if you have any questions, let me know. You can send me a DM on my Instagram and follow me there. It's at DJ Henry, and the Blue House is at thebluehouse.co. And I'll be happy to answer questions. And thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.